imagine today's European issues would be what they would look like, what experiences would be encouraging if we had our national currencies as in 1987. Can we ignore it? Also no. This means for countries like our country, Portugal, that we need to build on at the European level. The first one is the increasing diversity of our societies in terms of ethnicity, culture, languages and religions. The second one is indeed globalization and its promise of leading to a widespread improvement in average incomes. The first trend has exposed human rights, language, to serious intellectual attacks, particularly focused on whether human rights claims to universality are justified. We are absolutely in the middle of this debate.
Human rights to social security takes account of issues like resources and efficiency, but it's much more concerned, are people having a dignified life? Are they able to access monetary and other benefits when they face great risks they cannot access enough income for themselves and their family?
If you go to somewhere like Korea, when did a country like Korea start to build a social security system? It was in the mid-90s, after the Asian crisis. They realised they had a problem and they had to do something about it. So once again we're seeing the right to social security bubble at the top of the agenda because of an international crisis around it. It is one of the worst realised economic and social rights. Out of 6 billion people, only 1 billion people have access to fully adequate social security. However, it takes a slightly different approach on the more human rights dimensions. When it comes to accessibility, for example.
In June 2006, 6 months before Bulgaria joined the European Union, I was in Sofia, visiting a Roma community on the outskirts of town, just near the Serbian border. They had been forcibly evicted some years before to make way for a massive shopping centre. No compensation, no notice, so they were quickly moved on. They were living in what you basically would call large tin cans, which were extremely hot in summer. They had no basic services.
Within that model you have the notion of contingency, so the pillars are, you normally think that the rule is that you are normally employed in the workforce and the things that happen are interruptions, so the contingency is seen as something unfortunate that happens.
It's an opportunity for the civil society to participate in the application of the social rights, but it's mainly an important tool of development and collective responsibilities. It also improves the dialogue between civil society and public authorities. I am sure that in the context of the Millennium Goals, the improvement of social models and the reinforcement of equal opportunities for all human rights, human rights will be promoted along with their economic, social and cultural dimension.
The timing of this conference couldn't be any more important with the finalization of the optional protocol, with the end of the 7th session of the Human Rights Council, which has seen an increase also in dealing with economic, social and cultural rights affairs. I want to praise my own country a little bit and Germany together. As you know, we introduced the resolution on the right to water as a human right, and we now have a newly created special procedure on the right to water that will start working as soon as possible. But the theme, as I was saying, of this second panel is the implementation of economic, social and cultural rights in Europe. The implementation of these rights can be examined from various points of view, from the obligations prescribed in international instruments of human rights, on the justiciability of these rights, on their indivisibility and interdependence with the other rights, their universality, etc. etc.
which is mostly, not entirely, mostly composed by civil and political rights. And it took 11 years more, in 1961, to adopt the European Social Charter, which codifies an important number of economic and social rights, and as Fernando has mentioned in his introduction, has been revised in 1996, and also since its revision has a number of cultural rights in it. On the side of economic and social rights and also cultural rights, it is of course far more difficult. When you claim that you have the right to have a job or a right to have a house, how can a judge tell if the state has done what it should do to make sure that you have a job or a house? It's far more difficult, and that's also a very important reason why we have in the Council two different instruments.
Be also patient in bringing new issues to the common positions of the European Union, and we have to look at it from this perspective. We have to give time for certain issues to develop to the stage when they are acceptable to everybody, and then we can count that they will remain and come home.
This morning, I heard the term human rights professionals. Because he was sitting behind me, and I know his rhythms, his breathing rhythms, I felt that then the phrase was going to say something to me in the coffee break. He did. He said, "What is a human rights professional?"